In 1930s Italy, Guido, a carefree waiter who happens to be Jewish, falls in love with and marries a local teacher. After starting a family, they are swept up by the Nazis to a concentration camp where Guido uses his imagination to protect his son from the horrors of life in the concentration camp. Wes and Beat review the surprise breakout foreign film sensation that won 3 Academy Awards in Life is Beautiful. On View, The Right Thing.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of View the Right Thing. I'm Wes, and with me as always is Beat. Say hi, Beat.
Hello.
Buongiorno, principessa!
Principessa.
How you doing, Beat?
I'm good. I'm good.
That's a lot of goods.
Yeah.
Why so good?
I don't know. I'm hyper. I got a few trips planned in the near future.
Ooh.
And I'm excited.
Any you want to talk about, or?
Well, I'm going to DC for the next 2 weeks. So
I've never been to DC. Have you?
For a concert, I went and seen Demi Lovato.
I rode on a Disneyland tram with her once.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I didn't know who she was. I actually knew, I knew who her sister was because her sister was on Desperate Housewives and I watched that show. But she was there with her looking all disheveled.
Oh.
I mean, this was several years ago before a lot of the trauma that we now know about, but I think she was trying to be incognito. She was in a sweatshirt hoodie and, trying to play it low key. But yeah.
I would too.
I've seen a few famous people at Disneyland. It's always fun. I locked eyes with Jason Segel once. I could see the panic in his eyes. Like, oh no, this guy recognizes me. I didn't bother him. I just
oh no.
I just smiled and gave him a nod, and he just smiled and nodded back, and that was our exchange.
You're such a cool fan. You're like, I know you want to be normal. I'll leave you alone.
You know what? When I have the opportunity, I'll ask for a photo. But, you just gotta read the situation. If somebody's eating dinner, sitting at a table eating dinner, then I don't sing. Actually, one time, somebody I follow on social media that I was a big fan of, I also follow their YouTubes and stuff. We were at a party and they were at a party at the same location, the same restaurant. And so I tweeted at them and was like, oh, you guys look great. Wish, I don't remember what I said, but I was like, oh, I don't want to bother you, but I just wanted you to know, you guys look great, blah, blah, blah. And he tweeted back at me and was like, hey, you can come over, say hi. That's so nice. So that's my, I'll put a foot on the line, but I won't cross the line. If they invite me to cross the line, that's different.
Yeah.
But, all right. So
how are you?
I'm good. I'm on the precipice of big things. I've got to go, on a trip next week, to Chicago again. It's a mixed bag, that trip, going for a memorial service, but I get to see my brother and I get to see my mom and my aunt and my cousin. And my sister-in-law, of course. I'm and my mom's husband, I think, is going to be there. So, so should be nice to see those people. Probably we'll get to eat some deep dish pizza. I might be able to go get my favorite sandwich in the entire goddamn world. I hope I get an opportunity to do it, but
where can I get the sandwich?
You gotta go to Chicago, baby. Sorry. There is a place in not in LA, in California, near Anaheim, that is a chain from Chicago. There's exactly one of them in California, and it happens to be not too far from Disneyland, actually closer to Knott's Berry Farm. And they do the sandwich there, but it's not as good as the other chain place from Chicago that I like, which is Al's Italian Beef, Al's #1 on Taylor Street, downtown Chicago. if you're
Let me get my pen and paper out.
Yeah, if you guys are ever in Chicago, I recommend going to the one on Taylor Street. That's the original. It's across the street from like a what do you call it? Like a frozen lemonade hut thing. Which of course is not operating, in the wintertime, but not too far from the Chicago Firehouse from the TV show Chicago Fire. Love that place. It is, you gotta get, don't get the small sandwich. Either get the medium or the large. Get it with the hot giardiniera and get it dipped. They take the whole sandwich with their tongs and they just dip the whole thing in the beef jus, in the gravy, as they call it.
Hell?
It's so good.
Goodness.
It's a wet, messy sandwich, and it's awesome. It's so good.
You're like, don't get the small, get the large.
Well, you get the medium or large. I can't remember what they're called. I think there's a large, and I think it's like regular large jumbo. I think you want to get the large or the jumbo or something. I can't remember off the top of my head. I've only been out there a few times, so, but every time I've gone to Chicago, I get that sandwich. So I'm hoping and praying. Check back with us on our next episode to find out if I got the sandwich. Next episode. Oh man, Beat. It's so good.
I want a Cuban so bad.
Oh yeah, that's a very different sandwich.
It is a very different sandwich, but you were talking about sandwiches, and I was like, ooh.
So you like the Cuban? Have you had a muffaletta?
No.
Do you like green or Kalamata olives? Like a more exotic olive than a black olive?
Honestly, I don't know. I've probably never had one, but I am venturing into the peppers and the olives recently. I've been eating like pepperoncinis and
so you like spicy
banana peppers. Yeah.
Oh man, I'll send you some of this hot giardiniera from Chicago. It's so good. I put it on everything, but it is like I put it on.
It's so good. I slap that shit on everything.
Oh man, I put it on hot dogs and stuff, and it's awesome. It's so good. It's a little like there is one aspect of it I don't love, and that it's kind of like pickled peppers, like a jalapeno in a jar or whatever. But it is jalapenos and other things, but it's in like I think oil of some kind, like an olive oil or something. So I don't love that aspect of it because then then if you touch it, then your fingers feel greasy or whatever. I don't like that. But
well, I love oil.
Well, then this stuff is the stuff for you. I'll send you some. It's so good. Just know it's a kick. It's going to be a kick.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, I keep a variety of basic hot sauces in our house at all times. So if you ever come out here, if it ever happens, then I've got your hot sauce. I got Tabasco. I got Cholula. I got Tapatio. I got hot honey. I have Frank's Red Hot. I got Sriracha. I have gochujang. So
you have so much.
Yeah. So if you need, if you're like, oh, I want something sweeter, then I hit you with the gochujang or the hot honey. The hot honey's good on like, you know how I feel about chicken nuggets and honey. So, if you want a little kick, you use the Frank's hot honey.
We're going to have to try that when I come.
All right. Well, any other news to report? Anything exciting?
Let me see.
Still house hunting?
Still, yeah. Sorry to disappoint, guys. Literally 2 houses have been sitting on the market for 3 weeks now, and no other houses have popped up.
And you don't like these 2 houses?
No.
Oh, that's a bummer.
It's so bad.
Oh, no.
It's okay.
That is a bummer. I think I gotta lower your volume just a little bit here. Then I just speak really loud and just blow out the speakers. Nice. Okay. So no on the houses. Okay. Well, I guess we could talk about this movie if you want. Unless last chance.
Last chance to back out.
Oh, I meant to talk about anything besides the movie.
No. I'm good.
All right. So there's a few like really sweet things that we're going to talk about with this movie that I think you'll really like. But I happen to know you probably don't have a ton of notes, right?
Accurate.
What's that?
Accurate.
All right. When an open-minded Jewish waiter and his son become victims of the Holocaust, he uses a perfect mixture of will, humor, and imagination to protect his son from the dangers around their camp. So, that's an interesting summary for that. So, the first question is always, Beat, did you like this movie? Did you enjoy your time watching this film?
Well, I would like to say that I came into this movie blind. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what it was about. All I know was the title was Life is Beautiful. And I was like, oh, it's going to be heartwarming. It's going to be beautiful. No.
It was heartwarming and beautiful. What are you talking about?
It was traumatizing.
Well, you know.
Yes, it was those things too.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it though.
That's good.
It was very beautiful. I cried.
You cried? Yeah, I know I cried the first couple times I watched it. So this was a pretty big deal when it came out. I'm in some aspects, like, I'm kind of glad that you hadn't seen it before, because one, it meant that I got to watch it again, which I love. But I'm always like, you know, when a movie at the time, it was like so big that I was sort of surprised that you didn't really know anything about it. So the movie came out in Italy in 1997. I think it came out in the U.S. largely in 1998. And then it won and was nominated for a bunch of awards all over. It was nominated for, just for the Oscars alone, Best Film Editing, Best Writing, Best Director, Best Picture, Best Foreign Language Film, Best Music, and Best Actor in a Leading Role. And it won 3 of those. It won Best Foreign Language Film, Best Original Dramatic Score, and it won Best Actor. So it's kind of a big deal. And
Guido.
What's that?
Guido win. Was it Guido?
Guido?
What's his name?
The actor or the... Oh, yeah, the character Guido. Yeah. That's the actor, the lead actor, Roberto Benigni.
I loved him.
Yeah, he's great. So, you know, Des and I are big fans of his, just in general, excluding the bad Pinocchio movie that he did. But he's done some really great, you know, comedy movies. He's sort of a physical comedian in the sense of like a Buster Keaton or a Charlie Chaplin. Like, he's kind of that old school, you know, physical comedy. There's another guy that's coming to mind, and I'm blanking on it, but yeah. So he did a really great movie called Il Mostro, where it's another one of those like this topic probably shouldn't be a comedy, but it somehow works for the movie. Where there's a serial rapist / killer on the loose in this town or in this city in Italy, and so the police send in this woman to go undercover to sort of draw him out, and they set their sights on Roberto Benigni's character because, just kind of like in this movie, he'll do something that's completely oblivious to him but looks completely different to another group of people, to outsiders looking in. And so he's not the rapist killer, but he keeps doing things that sort of make him look like he is. That makes sense. And then he did another movie that Desi and I really love called Johnny Stecchino, which means Johnny Toothpick, where he plays 2 parts. He plays a mobster, and then he plays just this regular schmuck who the mobsters grab because he looks identical to the mobster. So he plays both parts. And I think the plan, if I remember right, is to fake the mobster's death with this guy because he looks just like him. And it's very funny. It's very, again, a lot of physical comedy and things in it. So
Sounds funny.
Love this.
Do they accidentally kill the mobster?
I don't think he dies. I think he maybe gets arrested in the end. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it. I do remember that. I really liked it though. And some of these movies, like the Il Mostro has the monster, has Nicoletta Brasi, who plays his wife in this. She is his wife in real life. They met. Yeah, they met on a movie set, fell in love, and got married, and now they make stuff together when they make stuff.
So sweet.
Yeah. The child, I don't believe, was their child. I think it's somebody, some random actor kid.
It was the whole thing was a family affair.
Yeah, right. So the film, we're going to try and mix in a little bit more talk about the plot and just sort of talk about the timeline a little bit. So basically, this guy Guido comes into town with his buddy, and on their way in, they wreck the car, right?
Yeah.
And so they stop to see if they can get help and directions into town. And this woman falls out of a barn, and he catches her, and he does the "Buongiorno, principessa." And then they continue to kind of like keep running into each other, and they've like fall in love with each other. She likes him, he likes her, but she's promised to another guy. Essentially, she's engaged, and eventually he like steals her away, and they end up together and have a child, right? Mm-hmm. And then that's when there's reference to the rise of the Nazi Party leading up to all of this, but it doesn't really kick into gear until after they've had their kid.
Yeah, I felt like that whole first part of the movie, like pre them getting nabbed, was like a movie in itself.
Yeah, it is, right? And
because like I thought it was going to end. I literally did.
You're like, short movie. It's a very like old school way of making movies. You know, Hitchcock. Have you ever seen The Birds?
No.
Oh my God! Guess what?
Don't you yell at me.
No, guess what we're adding to the list. So The Birds is kind of similar without giving too much away. But like the first, I don't know, third of the movie is like its own genre. It's like a romantic comedy about two people falling for each other. Like there's like a meet cute and everything, and then there's this moment where all of a sudden the movie just shifts in tone completely, and then it becomes this horror film. And this is kind of that old school filmmaking where they just take their time to set up one thing and then subvert your expectations and do something else. But it's all built on the thing that preceded it, right? So like in this movie, this whole Holocaust thing, like it could have just been this drama about being in the Holocaust at that point, but that's not what it was. It was built on the back of sort of physical comedy, their love story, and his sort of like hopeless optimism and happiness, you know? Because that guy's like, he's such a nut. The scene when he goes to the school and pretends to be the German inspector, yeah, and he's basically like, you know, in his own way lampooning the ridiculousness of like a superior race. I just love, he's like, you know, a superior belly button. This is a perfect belly button. They couldn't untie it even with their teeth. They tried. I think it's just really, really funny.
Yeah, he was hilarious. I wanted to hate him so bad.
You wanted to hate him?
Yes, because he just talked so much and he was just so out there. And I was just like, oh my goodness. I just need a second without you talking. But he was just so charismatic. Yeah. I just loved him.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I think that's just kind of who he is in real life. I think he's just this like really boisterous, optimistic, happy, you know. When he won during the Oscars, so this is like the really like well-known, one of the most well-known Oscar moments. I think the new one is the Will Smith one, right? And there's a few other ones, you know. I was trying to think of some, but like Sally Field, You Like Me, You Really, Really Like Me. That's another really famous Oscar thing. But when he won Best Foreign Film, he just like lost his mind and freaked out. He was so excited. to get to the stage, he just started climbing over the chairs. Like he was standing on the chairs and just climbing over the chairs to get to the stage. It's such a like crazy, silly, funny moment. I'll see if I can find a clip and send it to you.
Yes, please do.
There's always something at the Oscars, you know, something. Oh, you know, another infamous like modern one would be when they said La La Land won Best Picture when Moonlight really won it, and the La La Land people came up and they were like, "This is not a joke. Moonlight's actually the winner."
Yeah, like shoot them to the side.
Yeah, they like saw the card inside the envelope, so you know.
Who said that? Who ruined that?
It was like Warren Beatty and somebody else. I can't remember who it was.
Oh, goodness. Never live that down.
Yeah. Well, so the movie, when it came out, was in the theaters for about 22 weeks, which is, you know, a pretty good amount of time especially for a foreign film. And, well, so that was 22 weeks before it won the Oscar. And then it won the Oscar, and the box office numbers went up 45% after being in the theater for 22 weeks. So normally, you have a movie that's in the theater, and let's say you have opening weekend. The next week, you will probably expect about somewhere in the 40% area drop in ticket sales. So the first weekend is like the best weekend, and then it slowly starts to drop after that. If you have a big film, like a Marvel movie, you probably will expect a large drop-off because people want to see it the first week so they're not spoiled. So you're expecting like closer to 60 to 65% drop after the first week. For a movie to go up in a percentage is mostly not unheard of, but just very, very, very uncommon. And for a movie 22 weeks into its run to go up 45% is like crazy. It's like a really special thing for it to have happened.
We're like, oh, I heard this was great. And then everybody starts going.
Yeah, people were like, oh, this was nominated for all these awards and it won a bunch. It must be good. It's only the second film to be nominated for Best Picture and Best Foreign Film. There's a movie called After Z. It was like from like the 60s or 70s that was nominated for both.
It was the second one that was nominated for both?
Yeah, for both Best Picture and Best Foreign Film. It's very, very rare. Usually it's like foreign film, that's its own category. So for it, I mean, it's like this is the best film that's not from the U.S. And so for a movie to get best film that's not from the U.S. and best film in the U.S. is sort of like, I mean, that's basically what they're saying with those two categories. That's like, it's kind of a big deal. So.
Yeah, it's pretty cool how they were nominated for both.
Yeah.
We're like, even though, you know, you're considered a foreign film, or like, you're so great that we're going to put you in this category.
Right. Well, and I think Roberto Benigni, just more Oscar trivia for you, he's only like the 8th person to ever be nominated for directing himself. So, so like Clint Eastwood, it's happened multiple times, right? So Unforgiven, check out the Unforgiven episode of You the Right Thing. And then $1 Million Baby, he got nominated for both. Kevin Costner, of course, famously for Dances with Wolves. Kenneth Branagh, Woody Allen. We don't really want to talk much about Woody Allen. Orson Welles. I mean, Citizen Kane is like considered to be, by many, to be the greatest film of all time. And so that's one of those, that director nomination and acting category for the same film. So. And this is Benigni's only Oscar nominated performance. He hasn't been nominated for an Oscar since, and was never before.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the plot a little bit. Anything in that first section stand out to you? I really liked the wedding or the engagement party scene when he picks up the dog on the tray. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
That's like I think it's an old Charlie Chaplin reference. or something like really, really. Oh, it might be a cat. So he's like a waiter, and when he's like putting everything on the tray, he's looking away, and then a cat gets on the tray and starts eating some of the food, and then without looking, he puts the cloche down, the little dome, and then he takes it out to the person, and then reveals the food, and then there's like a live cat there, and so it was very much a reference to that.
That's cute. I didn't know that was that reference for that.
Mm.
I did like the engagement party. I thought it was really cool. I did like her seeing him.
Just the very. Oh, you'd like the date or?
No, when they were at the engagement party,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like this whole time he's like in excruciating pain because he loves her.
Yeah.
And then like she finally sees him and she's like, oh, uh-oh.
That's the boy.
That's the boy I've kind of been hanging out with.
Yeah. Well, the since I mentioned it, the other scene that I really love is after the opera, after he does the Schopenhauer move on her and tells her to look at it, and then she does, and then he picks her up in the other guy's car. It's like they set up all of these like really small things ahead of time. So they they mentioned that her boyfriend has the same kind of car that his friend has. The Maria the key moment is sort of that setup. The setup with the different hats with the upholsterer guy. Yeah. So the different hats. So like all of these things, like they set up for, 35, 40 minutes of the movie, and then they all pay off in this one scene. And it's the scene that like wins her heart, right?
Oh yeah. It was so cute.
Yeah.
Because it was the hat. The key.
Mm-hmm. The car.
What was the other one?
The car.
The key, the car.
The hat.
The hat. And what was the other one? There was something else that happened because it was three things.
Well, so he picks her up in the car, and because the car had been in the car accident at the beginning of the film, the steering wheel was loose. So the steering wheel came out, which played a part in it. The guy worked for the upholsterer, so he's like, don't, be careful because the upholstery's in the back, or whatever. So he uses the pillow and the roll of carpet to, create a carpet so she doesn't have to walk on the water. And then to prove, that, what was it? Essentially the universe,
Oh, Maria, the gods will speak to me or something.
So, the key to her heart. The key to her heart.
Yeah.
Maria, the key. And then the key falls down. And then, because he has the upholsterer's hat, he prays for a dry hat. And the upholsterer happens to be going by. And, he has her pray for the dry hat, which is what seals the deal, right?
Yeah.
Like, how could she not fall in love with him at that moment?
He got mad riz. I did like that part in the engagement part, but I did like the princess falling from the tower part.
From the barn?
That was cute. Yeah, I thought it was very cute how they met there and then in the city, and they just kept meeting over and over again.
She falls into him, he falls into her. Yeah. So once they have the kid, we flash forward like 4 or 5 years, and clearly the Nazis have been like rounding people up, and there's a lot of like a lot more anti-Semitic like signage and dialogue. There's a moment. So this is where the like sort of this idea, this concept of life is beautiful, kind of kicks in more. Is because as things become darker, he fights a little harder to like show his kid that life is beautiful and that like he doesn't have to worry in this world. And one of those early moments that I really liked was when the kid reads the sign that says "No Jews or dogs allowed," and he has to explain to him that Oh yeah, the other store down the street doesn't let, Catholics and horses in, or whatever it is. And then they come up with what their bookstore won't allow in. So he asks the kid what he doesn't like, and it's spiders. And he's like, and I've had it up to here with Visigoths, so no spiders and no Visigoths in our store. Which is also really hilarious to me.
It was very heartwarming how he was just trying to, guard his innocence.
Yeah. There's a scene that they cut out, his friend, what's his name? Elio or something like that? His friend that moves there with him, that works at the upholstery place. There's a scene that's actually been cut. I've never seen it. I just know of it. And there's a scene where he sees his friend being rounded up by the Nazis, and they actually end up killing him. And they ended up cutting that from the movie, probably just because it's harder to kind of keep the pace if you have too much of that. But they did end up going there with the uncle, right? When they run up all the old people and the kids.
Alicio.
What's that?
What was his name? Alicio?
The uncle's name?
Yeah.
The uncle was... so Ferruccio was the friend, I think. Right? I don't remember now. I don't remember the uncle's name. I think Ferruccio, though, was the friend.
What?
Was it Zio?
It's Alicio.
It is Alicio.
Uncle Alicio.
Okay. Hey, I know he calls him like Tio a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's hard for me to remember. Okay. Were you going to talk about him, or were you just saying you were just trying to remember his name?
I was just trying to remember his name. But he made me so sad.
Yeah.
Because he got separated in the beginning, and we all know what happened to him.
Yeah. Yeah, and the kid, that poor little girl and her kitten. Well, the kitten survived, but...
I'm not gonna cry. Gosh.
But that moment when you see the little kitten, like, standing on top of the pile of clothes looking for the scent of her owner.
Stop.
It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad.
It's about old man and little children.
It's very Schindler's List in its own way.
Yeah.
You've seen that.
No.
Oh my God.
I'll just go ahead and take my exit.
Beat. All right, we'll add it to the list. It is heavy. It's longer, and the sadness pretty much doesn't let up. It's not like this where it's like happy and stuff. But it has a moment kind of like this.
You know what else I haven't seen? The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Yeah, you just skipping all the Holocaust movies.
Yeah, apparently I don't want to be sad.
Yeah, I understand. So they end up getting rounded up. The mom, or the wife, depending on how you look at it, the Principessa, she is not Jewish. She's only Jewish by marriage. And so she drives to the train station where they're rounding everybody up and putting them on trains to go to concentration camp. And she's like, let me on the train. And they're like, no, you're not on the list, go home. And then she's like, put me on the MF train. And they're like, so she basically knows she's sacrificing her life because, she can't live without her family. And, maybe they'll all make it. Who knows, right?
Yeah. I was thinking about this earlier today, about the movie. And I was like, if he, did they kill everybody in their bunk?
Yeah.
You said yeah?
No. Did you say, did they kill everybody in their bunk?
Yeah, did they? Because if he would have just stayed still, they all would have made it, but he was too worried about trying to find her that he got himself killed.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about that a lot too, watching them film. And I think, on one hand, I understand what you're saying, but we know, we have the benefit of hindsight that if he had stayed put, he probably would have been okay. What he doesn't know in the moment is what's going to happen to his wife, right? Like, he's fine in his bunkhouse, but other bunkhouses aren't. Other bunkhouses have people getting rounded up out of them. And so, and they're like, you don't want to be on that truck. And so he's like, I got to go make sure she doesn't get on a truck. And that's why he leaves. So
yeah, but it was just like it makes me think like he did all of this for his boy, his son.
Yeah.
What happens if he got them both killed? What happens to his son? Like in my mind, I understand he loves his wife.
Yeah.
And he wants to make sure she's okay. But what happens to the boy if you're both dead and then he has to live with that? I
understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I guess I think about it in terms of, the wife and I were just having a conversation where they recently at her job said, got a emergency plan thing. They're like going through all that for their office building. And, if some thing happened where they're like, you have to be in this office, for days or whatever, here's what you should have. You should have some, non-perishable food that you like to eat and a change of clothes and blah, 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 blah. Right. And I was like, we were talking about it and I was like, hopefully there's something like that doesn't happen because I don't want to have to find have to figure out how I'm going to get downtown LA to find you, But like, that's my first thought is like, if something catastrophic were to happen, my first move is to figure out how to get to Des,
Aww.
So I get it. I on some level, and of course we don't know because we're not in that situation, but on some level, I understand that mentality,
Yeah.
But now we know the situation for you, and
Well,
you're.
hey.
I was like, don't make me finish it.
If we had no children, of course I'd get a fight, Darren.
Okay.
But if we had a child, I definitely would prioritize my child over my lover.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and it might be too that he's like
themselves.
I think especially in like that era, probably going all the way into the 70s, there was this thought that a boy really needs his mother. Like, you can't raise a kid without a mother. There's a long standing ideal that women had to stay home to raise the kids, and you had to have that. And it wasn't until, I think probably like the late 60s and the 70s when I think some things started to shift and they started to realize the absence of a father was detrimental emotionally to a lot of people. Not that, I think any single parent can do it, any loving home can be good for any kid. But that was the mentality then. And so it may be also a bit of like, oh, this kid's going to need his mom. I better make sure that she's fine. And he'd gotten the kid, that far. He kept them both alive up to that point. Maybe, he thought he was going to continue being lucky. Maybe that hopeful optimism kept him, feeling like he was invincible.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
I mean,
yeah, he was trying to save her. In the end, he had a safe place for him.
Think about how he bailed that kid out in when they asked him to be the waiter for the Nazis in the camp, and the kid ended up getting pulled in with all the other kids, and they were eating, and he said grazie, and so like he even and then the other. The German waiter was like, something's not right here. This kid doesn't belong. We're going to have to murder this kid. So he goes to get somebody, and then he teaches all the other kids how to say grazie. And so, basically saves his child's life that way. It's just moment after moment like that. So I could see how he might think his luck wouldn't run out.
Well, it did.
It did. Sadly, it did.
I cried so hard when he died because I was like, I wasn't expecting it because I thought his luck was not going to run out.
Yeah. Well, the title, like Life is Beautiful, you think it's going to wrap up perfect.
Yeah.
But,
very misleading.
Well, and I do like that this kid, you know, if everything was just like glossed over for this kid his entire life with no like concept of consequence, you know, that's also a bad lesson, right? And I'm not saying I'm glad Guido dies, but it's probably something that allowed this kid to grow up and be able to retell the tale, and at the end, you know, talk about the sacrifice his father made for his family. You know, it's a shitty lesson, but one many people probably need to learn. You know, it seems like the people that have everything handed to them and have everything made perfect for them tend to grow up to be terrible human beings.
Yeah. I agree on that note.
Yeah.
You gotta learn a little bit.
Yeah. There's another really funny line. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but when he talks to his buddy, I think it's maybe Bartolomeo. No, maybe Bartolomeo's. Did he die before the end? I can't remember. But he's like, you know, they're talking about how, you know, they're all going to split up and stuff. He's like, let's split up and then we'll meet up later and we'll open an anvil factory. Which I think is another really funny line. This movie's full of them, you know, full of like really, really funny moments.
Oh my God. My favorite moment, was when he's like, does anybody speak
German?
Speak German. And then he goes up and he's literally talking about a tank war. I mean, not a tank war, but a tank game where you win a tank or whatever. And everybody's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
How are they supposed to know the rules of the camp?
Well, then he says, Bartolomeo, explain it to them. Yeah.
Yeah, that part was hilarious. Because I was like, I hope somebody was like knew and was listening, because poor guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he just screws his entire cabin or whatever, entire bunk.
Yeah.
Any other scenes or things that I you know, one of the most heartbreaking things to me in the film, obviously his death is very heartbreaking, but maybe even more so than that, is the doctor that he first meets in the hotel, and they do the riddles together.
Yeah.
And then he sees the doctor as this like symbol of hope, and he's like, we're going to get out of here. He's going to help us. And the moment when he realizes that this doctor has gone fucking cuckoo and there is no hope anymore, that moment at the dinner party, just like you can see it in his eyes. And it's so heartbreaking and crushing to see that like hope flicker out.
Yeah, what did he say at the party?
He's asking a riddle. He's trying to get him to like help him with a riddle. I'm trying to remember what the riddle was, but it's basically it's a racist riddle. I'm gonna look it up because I don't.
Yeah, I did like when he was getting trying to get to his wife where the little light was shining. Like, it just reminded me of like a black and white cartoon with like the light trying to find the character, and he's like doing impossible stunts to get away from like the light shining.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to get to this riddle while you're talking about it.
Yeah, forgive you.
It's fat, ugly, ugly, all yellow in reality. If you ask me what I am, I answer cheap, cheap, cheap. Walking along, I go poo poo. Who am I? Tell me true. And the answer is a Jew. That's what they're. I mean, that's not truly what Jewish people are like, but that's amongst the Nazis. That's the riddle and answer.
Aww.
Basically,
so now I understand why the doctor didn't really help.
Yeah. Because he was like just fully ingrained in that Nazi party, and he was oblivious to what was going on. Like, he had just turned it all off at some point. Like, something broke in him where he didn't see the people anymore. And because he didn't see the people, he couldn't answer the riddle. So, yeah. Sad. Okay. Well, on that terribly sad note, any other last points you want to make about this one? I know it's kind of a shorter episode. There's it kind of is what it is, the movie. I mean, if you're not picking up on it, I don't know what to say to people. Also, not a lot of there's not a lot of making of stuff on here that we didn't cover. There weren't any crazy stories about the making of it or anything, sadly.
Yeah, no, I don't think.
So, would you recommend this to people?
I would.
Would
You'll
you
get your hearts broken?
Would you watch it again if somebody was like, "Yeah, I'll watch it," but if you watch it with me, would you watch it again?
Yeah.
That's become an interesting barometer for us. So, there's oh yeah, I think people should see it, but I wouldn't watch it again. I feel like you've said that a couple times. So,
yeah, I
think when you say, if for a movie like this that made you, upset, because you seemed kind of mad at me when the credits started rolling.
I like to cry, and I was sitting there crying, and you were like, "Are you okay?" And I don't like to talk when I cry because then I cry more. And then you were like, "Are you okay? Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah. Well,
it was good.
So yeah, so if you're willing to cry again and maybe watch it again, that's I think a really good sign. So people should, if you listen to this whole thing and had it spoiled for you, watch it anyways because it's great filmmaking and excellent acting. So Beat, we're at an interesting stage now in our podcasting. We no longer say what the next movie is.
Yeah.
Ooh, crazy. I haven't quite figured out if our other co-host and I are going to be saying what I think what may happen is so the off weeks are going to be, I'll just say it. Alexis Martino is coming back to be the new co-host with us, and she and I will go see movies that are current in theaters. Beat will sometimes be guesting on those episodes as well, and I think maybe Alexis and I will say what the next movie is for you and I, Beat. If that makes sense.
Keep the in theaters private.
Keep what? Private?
In theaters, what you guys are watching?
Yeah, because there's a couple reasons behind that. Is one, in theater stuff is not that big of a deal, and it's sort of weird to give. I sort of look at it as what we do as good homework. You get to watch this older movie, and you can find it on if you have the Just Watch app, you can find where it's streaming or maybe rent it or whatever. And so that's kind of fun homework. But I think it's a little bit easier. People are less likely to have already seen stuff or have access to films in the theater. And she and I may keep them a little more spoiler free because they're new movies. But yeah, so that's one of the reasons. The other is that we're going to reserve the right to pull an audible if it's difficult to get tickets to a movie. So we have a plan for, what our first couple movies are, but there's no guarantee that, we'll be able to get seats that aren't in the very first row. I'm not going to sit in the very first row of a movie theater. I'm going to, try and position myself to have the best viewing experience possible going in. So there's a few reasons why we're not really going to reveal those movies ahead of time. Maybe we could do that on our Instagram. That would be a way to do it. Once we have our tickets, say this is the movie that we're going to be doing, and those films we'll be seeing movies that typically, most of the time, I would say we're going to see them the week that they come out, and the episode for that film will be the following week. So there'll be a 1 week delay after a movie's release. So, I want to give an example, but I don't want to say the name of the movie for the reasons I just said, but I'm going to do it anyways. Okay. So for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which is one we're hoping to do. That movie comes out, I believe, on February 17th. So it'll be 7 days after that. So, the 24th. So on the 24th will be the episode, release for Ant-Man and the Wasp. So it'll have been out for a week. People have had a chance to see it. They can listen to the podcast. If people haven't seen it within that first week, then they'll hear whether we recommend it or not and go from there. I think that's the plan, at least.
Well, that sounds like a great plan.
What we're going to strive for. Although I kind of have a feeling we might have a third guest on our third host on the first episode. We'll see.
Maybe.
Oh man, you know what? I know it's at the end of an episode, but hey, Beat, have you seen any trailers recently?
I did see the new Ghostface Scream one.
Yeah. I was like, I knew you did, so that's why I was like,
I wonder if someone sent me that.
Yeah, were you excited?
I was. It looks so good. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I really like this is like the Avengers of of the Scream franchise. I really like that aspect to it. It made me really happy.
Yeah, it looks exciting. It looks new.
Although
fresh city.
It does seem like a wasted opportunity to do the Avengers of the Scream franchise without Neve Campbell, though. Doesn't it? I mean, don't you think?
Yeah.
Do you have any predictions? Yeah. Do you have any death predictions now?
Oh, well, yeah.
I have two.
What?
I have two predictions, but you go first.
I honestly think I think that should have been there, but I think Courtney Fox is going to die in this one. I feel like she is. If she doesn't, Jesus, girl, your luck is amazing.
No, that was one of mine. Is that Courtney Cox will die in this one?
Yeah. I
Not
think
Courtney Cox, but Gail Weathers.
I want Jenna Ortega to live.
So
because she's gorgeous, and I want to look at her more.
That's my second one. I think Jenna Ortega's toast.
Toast? No.
Yeah.
I think she should be a slice of bread untoasted.
Yeah, no. I mean, no. Believe me, I love Jenna Ortega. I've loved everything she's in. And yes, she's beautiful, of course. But
of course.
Yeah, I just got a bad feeling. I don't think she or Gail are going to make it out of this one. And I feel like they keep showing in both the teaser and the trailer, they show one of the girls from Five, I think, in it. The black girl? And they show her on the subway train seemingly get killed in both the teaser and the trailer. And I'm like, surely they can't do that, because I feel like they're giving too much away in just the trailer.
Yeah.
So, there could be a bunch of fake outs. Maybe Gail's gonna make it, Who knows?
Yes.
How interesting would it be if you think Gail's dead and it turns out at the very end you find out she's on a stretcher and then she just walks with a limp for the rest of her life?
I will literally cry. I just want her to die.
Oh, you don't want her. You don't think there's something kind of like poetic and sweet about the same thing that happened to Dewey happening to her?
Oh, that would be funny. That would be hilarious. I just think that Jamie Lynch is the final girl. So, like,
I don't know. They're gonna keep this thing going forever. Yeah, I don't know. Have you seen the movie The Final Girls?
No.
Oh, you should totally watch that.
Was it The Final Girls?
Yeah, we can watch it sometime. It's great. I think I own it. Yeah, I think I own it digitally. We can watch it. It's great.
Okay.
Okay, enough horror talk after Life is Beautiful. Sorry about that derailment.
Left turn.
But it's been wonderful. Beat. We will talk about movie to be named at a later date next time. Until then, everyone, bon cinema.